What is up, everybody? Joe Sib here with you, and I'm stoked and I'm honored to be a part of this great discussion with my great friends in Flogging Molly to celebrate 20 years of swagger. I know, 20 years. Let's just put it this way. 20 years ago, I didn't need these right here, and now I do. It has been an honor to work with Flogging Molly over the beginning of Side One Dummy Records. Let's be honest, they were the first band that really put us on the map. Not even really, they literally put us on the map. My partner Bill Armstrong and I had been putting around with Side One Dummy, and my own band 22 Jacks was on there with some other bands, but we really couldn't get our foot out there, or couldn't really get any momentum with some of the bands on the label. And my good friend Matt Hensley, who I'd met in Chicago while I was touring, had given me a cassette of his band, and it was actually the record Swagger. And I remember it was a cassette, so that's really dating me right now. It's even making it older than it is. But at that point, I remember I would listen to the cassette, and I was really into it. I played it to Bill, my partner, and at Side One at that point, we were looking to sign bands, and we realized, we needed to find a band that would give us an opportunity and give us a chance to really show what we wanted to do as a company, and to work with someone that maybe was at that point in their career where they needed help as much as we needed a band on the label. Later on, Dave King would say in the documentary Whiskey on a Sunday that it worked well with Side One, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but he basically said they needed a chance and so did we. And I always felt those words were so on the money, because working with Flogging Molly really gave us an opportunity to start Side One Dummy Records, but also start a friendship that went so long to this moment, from the moment we started working together, Swagger 20 years ago till now. And it's going to be a great hour that we have planned. We also got questions from the fans. A lot of you took the time to write questions that you had about Swagger. You wanted to find out different things over the years that you've asked yourself, hey, why is this song on there? And why did this title fit this way? Or what was going on with these lyrics? So we're going to address all of that and go through that. But more importantly, what's going to be really cool is we've got all the members of Flogging Molly here, except one. I think we're still waiting on one. But you know what? Let's get right into it right now. I'm super excited to announce and to celebrate 20 years of Swagger. Bring Flogging Molly in right now. Let's do this. Yes, look at you. Oh my gosh. Welcome, everybody.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Oh gosh.
My hand.
Man, you guys all look good.
Yeah, well, I can only speak for me and Bridget. We're pretty okay. Hope everybody else is okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Doing great.
Yeah.
Hey, really quick.
Living
Starting with
dream.
Dave and Bridget, can everyone go around the horn here and tell me where you are all at right now at this point? Dave and Bridget, where are you all at?
We are in County Wexford in Ireland.
In Ireland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hensley.
It's Carlsbad, San Diego.
Yeah, brother. All right. We'll go on over to Mike.
Detroit.
Okay. Spencer.
Rhode Island, United States.
Okay. Dennis.
I'm in Rochester, New York.
Okay. Thanks, you guys, for doing this. And thanks for asking me to do this. I've interviewed you so many times over the years. So the fact that you guys would let me do this, it really meant a lot. And as I said at the beginning, I think we just got to start with all of us meeting for the first time. I always tell the story about Matt, how you gave me the cassette. And I don't know if you remember this, I missed so many different shows to come and see you. It was like you guys would
I
open
remember.
up. Do you remember that?
Of course. You were doing it on purpose at first.
No, I wasn't. I was not. But the way it all came together is, Bill and I saw you at the House of Blues. I forgot. I think you were opening up a last minute show for, does this make sense? Hot House Flowers. Am I right?
I think that happened before.
That wasn't in LA though, was it?
That was Las Vegas, but
Vegas, yeah.
right? Dave?
So then the next night I flew to Vegas. Me and Bill flew to Vegas.
Wow.
and we saw you there. And I remember Bill Armstrong and I, we walked backstage and it was like mass exodus, just everyone leaves. And you're sitting there, Dave, and you go, hey, you guys want a pint? And we each grab a beer, and Bill and I are just so excited, or at least I am. Bill's playing it cool. And I go, we want to sign you. We want to make a record. We want to put out your music. And I remember, Dave, you just look at me and Bill and go, why? Like, why do you want to do that? And we're like, this was great. And we just started talking. And the next thing you know, we started talking about putting out the record Swagger. And the thing that is crazy to think that, this record Swagger was released, March 7th, 2000. And you guys had done Live Behind the Green Door before then, but this record, if you can tell the fans and, maybe Dave and Bridget, you want to start out, making Swagger, it kind of had, it started, I know, with one idea that you guys were going to release on your own. Cause when we got the record, it was already finished. So maybe you can touch base on that a little bit.
Well, we did a Live Behind the Green Door with the idea that we would be able to maybe someday make a studio album. So what we did was we got 2 microphones, one on stage and one in the crowd in Molly Malone's, and we recorded just live. And we eventually kind of got enough money to give Mr. Steve Albini a call in Chicago. And next thing you know, we're up with Steve and living in his studio, putting down these tracks that we've worked on over the last year and a half, or whatever it was, 2 years as a band like that. And it was a great experience because there was nobody telling us what to do. Even Steve wouldn't really comment on anything. He wanted just to place his microphones, and do his thing, and we do our thing. And that's what we did. And we'd nobody like breathing down the back of our necks going, well, we know you can't do this, you shouldn't do that. Or, it was just us the way it always was meant to be, recording live together in the studio and going from there and see what would happen.
Hey, Matt, I got to ask you, because right when Dave brought up Chicago, how did that feel, for yourself, Matt? Obviously working with Steve Albini, but, being in Chicago, living there for a while before you came back out to California and joining Flogging Molly, was it kind of full circle moment for you to all of a sudden be back in Chicago with your band and now you're recording with Steve Albini?
It was great. Yeah, it was because I'd only been gone for 2 or 3.5 years or something before we went back to Chicago. So it felt like a great home, a great reunion, as it were. And it was also pretty dangerous immediately, because it wasn't like we rolled. I mean, we all have friends from Chicago, but because I lived there helped the fact that there was a whole load of pirates waiting for, what time are you guys done so we can go set it up shop, get rad.
Yeah. I there's always been a story I wanted to ask you, Matt, and I know that you've kind of talked about it a little bit, but even with you joining the band, Matt, when you were out at in Los Angeles, I remember you telling me a story where you would go up and see, Dave and Flogging Molly. And at that point, I don't even know if it's called Flogging Molly, but you had never played accordion and weren't you just kind of showing up? And at a certain point, didn't you tell Dave, I'm going to join your band? And Dave was like, yeah, if you learn how to play accordion, okay, cool. You can be.
Is
that how it went?
Here's what happened, right?
That's not what happened.
Myself and Bridget and Nate were rehearsing, right? And on my way home, I popped into Molly Malone's to get a drink before I got home. And so I'm in there, and a friend of Matt's comes up to me. I'm sitting at the bar, and he comes up to me, and he says, are you looking for an accordion player? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I think we would love an accordion player with myself, Bridget, and Nate, and that. So I went over to meet him and his wife, Desi, and during the conversation, I just said, well, do you want to join the band? He said, well, you've never heard me play. I said, I don't need to hear you play. I think that's
good move, Dave.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, see, that's the way the band was. What was great about it was that, like, we literally fell together. Like, I mean, I met Bridget, right? And the night I met her in Molly Malone's, I was on my own playing acoustic. And
we were playing together the next day.
I went over to her apartment the next day and started playing like Selfish Man and stuff like that and having fiddle on it. And it's when I heard the fiddle, it kind of went, shit, this is what I need to do. I need to take from my experiences here in the United States, and I can't go back home physically. So maybe musically I can bridge the whole thing together and mishmash it all together. So that's when it all started to really, Nate came along and, Hensley, and it was just so organic. And I'd been playing with Mike for years before that as well. Me and Mike were great friends, and we're in a band together. And, you know, he actually played on demos that I had done prior to Flogging Molly.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just felt, it was all organic, you know?
Yeah. The thing I want to touch on really quick, Dave, because you bring up something that I think people know, you know, you didn't get to go home, you know, for how many years? And when you say writing songs about not being able to go home, you know, and, you know, being here in the United States for as long as you were, how did that play into your songwriting? How did that play into your psyche? And why was it one of those kind of things? If you left America, they weren't going to let you back in. Like, how did that play out?
Yeah. What happened was when I was with Epic Records, after myself and Mike, actually, the band that we were in, broke up, and he was playing on my demos, I had an O1 visa, and it was all legit. And my lawyer told me, don't worry, if it goes out of date, you're fine. We'll just reprocess the paperwork and we'll get an extension on your O1 visa. So I get to the point where it gets out of date, and I go to see him again, and they've changed the law. They've gone, once you step over your time now, even with an O1 visa, which was just for entertainers, like musicians and people like that. And so he told me I couldn't leave. And we were just starting to get our thing together. You know, we were just really starting to get comfortable with each other. And if I had left, I would not have been allowed back in the United States for 10 years. So I didn't see my mother for 8 years, you know? And so lyrically, musically as well, it was all hitting me right in the face. And that was a big contribution to what we were doing.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when I'm looking at the record, you know, I look at the titles of the songs, you know, and it's funny because for everyone, each person that's a fan, you have different songs that you love, you know, going through the track listing, you know, Salty Dog, Selfish Man, Worst Day Since Yesterday, Every Dog Has Its Day, Life in a Tenement Square, Beggar's Bush, The Likes of You Again, Black Friday Rule, Grace of God I Go, Devil's Dance Floor, which turned into such an amazing, you know, spot every night on your guys' set, these Exiled Years, Sentimental Johnny, and Faraway Boys. You know, one of the things that I think for so many of the fans, and just for me being a guy that was lucky enough to be working with you, was to see these songs go from the record to your live show, and the connection that so many different people had to these songs. You know, like a question for Dennis, you know, when you start working with, you know, with Dave and you're hearing these songs, were there connections to these songs, like as a guitar player, Dennis, that hit you harder? You know, did one song hit you harder than another? Because I've always said Dave has those lyrics and that personality that kind of makes you feel he's singing directly to you. And as a guitar player, to be like, okay, here we go, we're going to be playing these songs and collaborating, were there certain songs that stuck out more in swagger that you knew, like, wow, this is going to hit hard?
I thought most of the songs felt that way, but I have to admit, regardless of being a guitar player, when I heard it, Far Away Boys was just stuck out to me, and I was like, wow, this is really special. The lyrics of that song, the sentiment, just kind of, it blew me away, and it kind of made me listen closer to, instead of just the guitar parts, to more of the songs and the lyrics. And so I knew there would be some craziness involved, but I never knew until I got on stage and did it. It's a whole other ball game. Like, I had no idea. I had a little bit, but it didn't match what happened when you get together with the band and play it live. It just was mind blowing. But the initial hearing of Far Away Boys was, to this day, that song is one of my favorites. And I knew there was something very special about the band because, for many reasons, but the lyrics, and that they can go from Devil's Dance Floor, Salty Dog, and then play the song Far Away Boys, that is just so poignant and just deep and meaningful and just melody. It's a great song.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember like one time we weren't even recording. We actually, a couple of friends of ours asked us to record a song in the studio, and I remember it was just a very basic song. But then I heard Bridget and Matt playing this riff, you know, and I was like, "What the fuck? Oh, can I say that? Oh, what the hell is
You
that?"
just
You know?
did.
Oh, I did. Okay.
Whoopsie.
but I heard him playing this Kesh jig, yeah, Kesh reel.
I think it was the cash, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm going to write a song about just on this riff, you know, and that was Salty Dog, you know.
Wow.
And so I have to agree with what Dennis says there. I remember one of the first times we all played together. The energy in the room was something that I had never felt before. It was unbelievable. And I'm not when I say energy, I don't mean loudness and da 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 da. I just mean there was something there in the room. There was something else in the room as well.
Yeah.
You know.
When you
amazing.
Yeah, I was going to add, Dave. That was I was trying to convey that, but you always do it better. But I was always in bands, or I always played where I felt like I was pushing the band.
Yeah.
Well, Flogging Molly just gave back everything that I would put into it. The energy and the passion was matched constantly. Like I never felt like I had to push it along or bring more to it. It was just this.
And you know what, Dennis? I think Joe, being an AC/DC fan, he might appreciate this, but it was Angus Young was the one that really I understood for the first time what he was talking about. It was when we got together as a band and played in the same room. He didn't care if the Beatles or the Rolling Stones went on before him or after him. He said, "We're AC/DC. That's just it." And I didn't know what the hell he meant by that. But when we start playing together, I was like, oh, now I know what he means, because I don't give a fuck who goes on before us or after us. We're Flogging Molly, you know? And that's a true story. I mean, I remember playing and going to myself, Jesus, Angus, now I know what you mean, you know? It doesn't matter. You're just doing what you're doing, and you do it with all your heart and soul, you know?
And I think for me, watching you all play, that was the biggest takeaway I had from that first time I ever saw you. I always think of like The Likes of You Again or Devil's Dance Floor. Those songs stood out to me in a way that it was this moment on stage. And you're right, Dave, there was just and Dennis, you're right, that when I watched the band live, each person could have been a front man or a front woman. You know what I'm saying? Like it had this energy where everyone, that you couldn't take your eyes off of any member in the band. And it just felt like, wow, this is something just so different and so unique. And you're right. Like I've heard you say that about AC/DC. And it's true, you know. And I remember, you know, I don't know if you guys remember this, but one of the first tours you guys got, I remember you went out with the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. And I remember Dickie calling me from the road and saying, Joe, what are you doing sending these guys out here? You're making me have to work. You know, like he was like, that is not fun having to follow that. But man, these guys are great. And that, I remember that was a hurdle that we used to have when we'd ask bands, hey man, take Flogging Molly out. And suddenly dates wouldn't be available. Oh, I don't know if that'll work. And you're like, you don't want to follow that. That's what you're saying. It has that moment. I got to ask Spencer, because, you know, Spencer and I go way back. I started working with Spencer when he was in Zox, and, you know, it's just full circle for you, Spencer, you know, being a fan, and then, you know, now you're working with Flogging Molly and kind of listening to all these different stories, kind of on the sideline though. What is it like to, you know, a fan, now you're in the band, collaborating, working together. How does that feel to you? And especially even with like the celebration of this first record, which I could imagine at a certain point, you were probably just like all of us, listening to it, and now you're like, am I really in this band playing these songs?
Well, number one, I wouldn't say a fan, just as a joke.
Wow, got super uncomfortable right now.
Coming out strong.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, Joe, largely thanks to you. I have known all of them for a very long time, and it's great. And I was fortunate enough to be able to go on that tour in whenever that was, like early 2000s or so.
Yeah, it was a college tour. It was a college tour. Do you remember that?
It was, yeah.
No alcohol at any of the venues. It was a nightmare.
Oh, that's not true. But it was, I was fortunate enough to hear the band live. And I really did not know the material until that point. And got to hear it every night. And it was great. And now to be playing those songs, because I if I remember correctly, a lot of them were Swagger songs at that point in the live set. I could be wrong, but
I'm sure it's Swagger, Drunken Lullabies, Within a Mile.
Sure.
All
Yeah.
that, yeah.
But to be able to hear them since then and to cross paths as many times as we have, and hear them again and again live mostly is great. And now to be playing them is really great.
Cool.
So thank you for asking, Joe.
Yeah, and for not being a fan and to really luck into what you're doing, you got to feel good about that. as this is going live, so many fans are just like, you know what, Spencer, I'm coming looking for you.
It sounds like the stand-up is still going well, Joe, is it?
What was that?
Wait, what'd you say, Dave?
I said it still sounds like the stand-up is going well.
There you go. Hey, before we go to the fans' questions, because we got a stack of them here. That was so cool of you guys to throw that out there to your fans. They could ask some questions. I want to dive in there. I got to ask Mike, though. You know, Dave, Mike, you guys played together before all of this craziness started. Dave, Mike, what's it like to be back, you know, jamming again with Dave? You go so far back with him with playing, you know, years before Flogging Molly, collaborating there. Now you're, you know, back in the mix again. Does it feel like you guys picked up where you left off? How's that feel?
It's really great. I mean, I've been in a bunch of bands since, but there's something about hearing Dave's voice in front of me again, playing extremely loudly, coming back at me through those monitors, by the way. It's really, really great. I mean, there is no better lead vocalist in my opinion, in rock in general anymore. And I don't know. I just love you, man. It's just great.
Oh, give it to me.
It's true.
Oh,
well, looky here.
ladies and gentlemen, welcome Nathan Maxwell. Let's clap it out for Nate.
Maybe.
Oh, what a sweet sight.
How are you?
Nathan.
I'm well. How are you guys?
Good.
Wow, there he is. There, man.
All right.
No glass. There you go. Did you break into a club and you're just streaming
I
from
did.
there?
I broke into an abandoned punk house, and I've been sleeping here for a while. COVID's a bitch, I'll tell you.
Nate, man, I appreciate you showing up, man. We were just talking about so many different, you know, songs, memories, how it all came about for us to get together, and just just how 20 years of swagger, and here we all are. I was going to jump into some questions. Now that I got you here, Nate, a couple things we wanted to ask, and we're just going to get right to it. How old were you when you joined the band?
I don't remember. I think I was 17.
Okay, that was correct.
Yeah, I was too young. I was 17 when I met Dave and Bridget. I know that, and started watching them perform at Molly Malone's. And I was sneaking in the back door. I think I was 18 though when Dave actually officially asked me to join. So
yeah.
How old were you when we got you your first fake ID?
I had that already. Yeah, got that in Echo Park.
How many times have you lost your passport while in Europe? Let's be honest. Be honest.
Allegedly, there have been a couple times. I do remember one incident in Vienna that I'll never forget. And the wonderful people at that airport held the plane. And I'm sorry for all the passengers, but for some reason I'm remembering just being left in Finland. But that wasn't a passport issue.
Next question.
Oh, God.
How many flights have you missed in your career with Flogging Molly?
Oh, gosh. Let's call Aaron and well, I was going to say Steve Soto. Rest in peace, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be a few.
Yeah.
Rock and roll is a tough gig, you know, when you really mean it.
It's got to be a baker's dozen.
I can remember. I can remember. I'll throw out a quick story really quick. I remember the first time working with Flogging Molly, and we actually got one of our songs on the radio, and we were so excited. And they were playing us in this station called The End in Phoenix, and they were flying us down to do a radio show. And we were so excited. And we were all at the Burbank airport together, and we couldn't believe that they were flying us down, putting us up in hotels. And I remember we're drinking at the airport, and then you're still at the bar. We all go to our gate, and then they literally say, there's no more room on the plane. And it just was you. And you said, okay, I'll stay here. See you guys later. And we flew down to Phoenix. And I remember we hit some turbulence. And
I'm glad you wasn't on that flight. I'll tell you that. I remember that flight.
Bridget was throwing up. Bridget threw up, and I filmed her throwing up with a camera, and she got really mad.
And then Poetic Justice, you got loaded later and lost your camera.
I lost. This was the worst experience. Not only did I lose the camera, but I lost the film, and it was the film of my daughter taking her first steps were on that film. But thank God I didn't know that we had a backup of that. So I wasn't disowned. But I remember we get down there and we do our first radio show. Nate finally shows up, and I remember we were celebrating. They gave us our own trailer, and we get there at noon. This is when we'd show up to radio festivals at noon, like that. You guys weren't playing till 8. And I remember we're drinking Jameson, we're drinking beers together. You guys play an amazing set. It ends, and then we all go out that night. And it was an incredible night. And I did partake that night pretty hard, to the point that the next morning when I saw Dennis, I said, Dennis, man, what a night last night. And he looks at me, he goes, what are you talking about? I go, man, me and you. He goes, Joe, after the show, I left. I went back to the hotel. I go, what? I go, I hung out with you all night. And Dennis goes, no, you didn't. I'm like, wow.
I think on you once you took your top off in the restaurant.
Oh,
we were in.
That was the night that Dave. That was the night that Dave and I. That was the night that Dave and I invented it was called the Italian Irish shot, and we would take I came up with it. I would take a Jameson shot, and then I took a sausage to represent Italy, and I would put the sausage in the shot and drink it. Yeah. I'm so psyched that I signed and worked with you guys. Bill was so proud of me that night. Bill. I remember that night, and for everyone listening, Bill Armstrong, we call him the voice of reason. He's been my best friend and side one dummy partner. He said these words to me. I was in the hotel, and we're still just going crazy. And I lay down on the bed, and I get up and I go, dude, I got to get out of here. He goes, why? And I go, I got to get rad. He goes, Joe, you got rad. Stay in the room. Those are the stories. Those are the stories that I love about all of us working together. And it's just great that we're all still friends. And I love you all so much. I'm going to go to some of these questions about swagger. Why don't I just kind of throw one out, and then one of you guys can kind of raise your hand and take it. Let's go with the first one here. Let's just talk about the title track, Swagger. Why is Swagger not the title track why is Swagger not the title track on this album, but it's instead on Drunken Lullabies?
Because we're fancy.
That's a good
solid answer.
No idea really. I think I was a big Freddie Mercury fan, and I remember they had a song called Sheer Heart Attack.
Oh,
and it wasn't on the album Sheer Heart Attack. So I was thinking all this, well, maybe for the next album we'll put Swagger on Drunken Lullabies, and just to create that little conversation, it could well have been on Swagger, but at the time I didn't feel like I wanted to put the title track or a song that had the same title as the album.
Got it. That's a good answer. I love that Queen's involved in that. That's so great. Hey, a lot of people asked. There was a few questions that people asked us, and it's a pretty standard question. But the question was, were there any songs that didn't end up on Swagger that ended up on later albums? Were there any songs that you guys had in the mix that didn't make Swagger but showed up on another album down the road?
Yeah, Swagger.
Is that the only one?
No.
Yeah.
You spent one night with us. We've been spending 20 years doing this, okay? So your brain cells are not as good as they used to be either.
That's true.
Hey, I guess this another question would be what happened Dave to inspire the song Worst Day Since Yesterday? That's a good question.
That's a weird one. I remember having my guitar in a guitar case, and I came home from, I think, rehearsals, and I just realized I'd locked myself out of my apartment. I lived in this place in Silver Lake, little bedsit kind of thing. So I tried to crawl up the drain pipe, and the drain pipe just went like this. And I fell right back down, and I went to sleep on the grass with the drain pipe on top of me. And I woke up the next morning, and I just felt like this, it can't get any worse than this, can it? I mean, and then I just thought the title, Worst Day Since Yesterday, you know? But yeah. And then I had to get the landlord to come around and let me in. But
that's a tough one to explain.
I charged for the drain pipe and so on and on. Yeah. Basically, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, it's funny because that's the last thing. I never thought, like, when you're describing that story, it's almost like a cartoon. I would love to see the visual of you. I guess we'll stick to another lyric question. One of my favorite lyrics on the album is "I'll give you my heart if you give me the truth," from Black Friday Rule. Is there a story behind that particular lyric?
Well, I think it just goes towards any situation. You know, if you give me your heart, you know, I'll give you everything. You know, and that's why we're sitting beside each other right now. But you know, it's about that passion. It's about passion. I always used to say that to Nathan, because being such a young lad, you know, in the band, and I was like, you know, a mistake is one thing, but the lack of passion is unforgivable. And you know, that's what this band was always all about, was the passion. You know.
Hey, Nathan, speaking of that, you know, when Dave says that, being the young lad of the band, what's it been like literally growing up in Flogging Molly? Do you look to everyone in this band as brothers, sisters, father, mother? Like, what is it, just one big family? I mean, you've been in this, like I said, since you were 17 years old, you've grown up in this band.
Yeah, it's family. It's I don't know any different. You know, it's actually kind of emotional, to be honest with you. It's been such an amazing, fucking amazing ride. And it's family, my brothers, my sister. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry about it. Wow. I got him to start crying. I'm sorry, man. That's it. But I can tell that's how you all feel about each other, you know? And that's a special bond all of you have. And I'm sure, you know, Nate's feeling the same way we all are, that it's the first time we've all seen each other in a little while. So yeah. we'll give him a second to come back. All right, let's go back to the bar. Yeah. I think you just, Nate, are you coming back? Come on back.
Yeah.
Nate.
Sorry guys. I just
yeah. Sorry about that. Hey,
no,
how about I ask you this? How about,
can I tell you this though? Let me say something. Dave King, you know, has been a constant in my life. I mean, I was 17 years old. I'm 42 now, right? And Bridget and Matt and Dennis and all, you know, and all these wonderful people, you know, and talk about passion. I mean, these people, this is real passion, you know?
Yeah. Hey, yeah. When you think about, you know, almost being raised by Flogging Molly, like if you're gonna go through the band and you're gonna say, okay, you know, I got a question about, you know, love life. Who are you gonna hit up in the band? Who's your love advice going to? Let's go straight from the hip. Straight from the hip. Go.
Well, I'll probably get the most love life advice from Dave.
Okay.
Okay. And it's but you know, who would I go to? I don't know. I might go to Spencer. You know, very soft spoken, But honestly, you know, everyone in this band, Bridget, Dave, obviously are a wonderful, beautiful couple. But everyone in this band has so much integrity with their love life and their affairs, meaning their affairs in life, not.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We'll edit that out.
I hope people know what I'm saying. No, really, everyone in this group is such stand-up people, and I've been so blessed to have them as role models and influences in how to be a good person. You know, I could talk about each one of their better halves and the families and the kids, and it's really amazing. Great group of people. I mean, yeah, what can I say?
Well, we all love you, Nate. Big times. Big ups to you, Nate. We love you.
Love you too.
I'm gonna jump back into another question from the fans. You guys feel good about that?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Selfish. Wait, do we go? Oh, here we go. Was there a theme that drew those songs together in a unified? Wait, was there ever a theme that drew songs together in a unified album for you? Am I messing up? That kind of is like a mid.
One
You
day
know, we're
I
gonna-
too.
I'm not even drinking. Was there a theme that emerged from them since the album? Okay, you know what? I can't read. I don't understand that question.
Can I read it, Joe?
Yeah, you read it, bro.
I get my wits back about me. Okay, so
Go.
was there a theme that drew those songs together into a unified album for you? What theme has emerged from them since the album's inception that stands out to you or fans you talk to? That is a tough one.
That is serious. That's a serious
Actually,
question.
You know what? Actually, you know, I to me, at that stage of our existence, I think Black Friday Rule was the song that kind of, for me anyway, had everything that I wanted Flogging Molly to do. It lyrically, I was really happy with it. The main part of the song was amazing, and then when Bridget starts on the traditional bit at the end, the way we all did it all together, that to me was like, that's the perfect match right there of what my vision and my was with Flogging Molly. And so to me, yeah, I think that song would be Black Friday Rule.
Okay. You know, as we're doing this all too, you know, I keep remembering, you know, today's the day that this box set is out celebrating 20 years of Swagger. And what the fans need to know too is all of you had so much to do with pulling together this box set. Also, just the video that comes along with it. That was a crazy thing that we kind of all had, and that John Barrett up in Santa Cruz had held on to and did a great job pulling that all together. When you guys were kind of contemplating different ideas for doing the box set and pulling it all together, what was something that was really important to you in regards to the box set that you really wanted the fans to have? Because, you know, doing a box set and you know, and pulling something like that together, there has to be different elements that I'm sure each one of you were like, I want it to be like this.
Well, it was nice to see fan interaction on how it affected them, like up in San Jose that time. You know, to hear them talk to us meant a lot. That was a beautiful thing, and
yeah,
and that really stuck out. And we always wanted that to be put out there somewhere. You know, it's always been about us and our audience. I mean, you know, it's when something is so organic as this, it's hard to. You don't really necessarily have a master plan, you know. So there's no like, but we just knew that we enjoyed each other's company, and we enjoyed playing music together, and to be thinking of bringing out a box set 20 years later is a very, very, very special thing, you know, and we want to share that with everybody.
Yeah, I think if when we all would have met each other, if Bill and I would have came in and said, "Hey, let's do a box set in 20 years," we would have all, you guys would have just kicked us out of the dressing room. Nah. Hey, got a question here. Dave, this one goes directly to you. What compelled Dave to write Sentimental Johnny, and will you guys play it live again?
Okay. Bridget used to work in this bar called the Irish Times, and every now and then I'd pop down and see her, like at nighttime. And I went down one night, and I was sitting, there was only about 4 or 5 people in the pub. But this man was brought in by a younger man. Apparently, he used to take him out once a week for a pint. And the man's name was Johnny. And he was an older gentleman. And his favorite song was Sentimental Journey. Going to take a sentimental journey. That was his favorite song. And he knew absolutely everything about music. He just was incredible. And I said, you know what? I'm going to write a song about you. And So I did, and I called it Sentimental Johnny. And yeah, we will be of course we'll be playing that again at some point. It's a fun song to play. But he was such an inspiring character, you know. He still had apparently a room full of just records and a jukebox, and you know, he was inspiring, you know.
Yeah. Man, just sitting here looking when you said the records, it's like Mike and Spencer here, man. You got the vinyl collection going on there, man.
Well,
been collecting a while. I'm no spring chicken, you know.
Yeah. No, it's really cool that your parents let you live with them still too. That's awesome.
Bucket of fish.
Sorry. Yeah. All right, let's jump into another question. Selfish Man is one of my favorite off the album. I've only seen it perform live once. Wow. And the energy that comes from that song, is it based on someone or an experience?
It's about me.
Why is everyone laughing?
Yeah, it's just about being a selfish person, you know. And sometimes you actually have to be a selfish person if, you know, when you believe in a certain thing, there's other parts of your life that take a back seat.
Yeah.
And you have to admit to yourself, hey, you know what? I'm just a fucking selfish man, you know?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. When you know what's funny though is that I've seen you guys play that song a lot of times. When I read that question the first time when it said I've only seen you perform it once. That's a song that
surprised me too, actually.
Yeah, because I remember that song being there.
I'm guessing they've been to one Flogging Molly show.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. You got to come to another show to see the song again. All right, let's go around the horn because this is a question that, you know, when we were talking about.
You really like to say that, don't you? Around the horn.
I like saying it.
Okay.
It's a baseball reference. Okay, let's go around. What is each member's favorite song? We're going to start with Dave and Bridget.
Oh, God.
And everyone that's watching this, don't all of a sudden get your feelings hurt because they didn't pick your song. Okay, that's one thing. It's not their favorite song of their life. It's just we're throwing it around. Here we go. Okay, we'll move on to Matt.
I think for me would be. I think. I don't know. I didn't realize my father was really dead until I started with Flogging Molly. Not that I didn't realize, but I never really grieved for him. So I think any song I've written about my father means a lot to me. You know, but in general, I mean, for me personally, I don't have a favorite because I just love, you know, most of what we've ever achieved songwriting wise.
Yeah.
What about you?
I don't necessarily have a favorite. I usually go kind of by what's the most fun to play live.
I was just going to say, maybe the question could be more, is there one song that you guys all kind of look down at and you're going through the set, you're loving playing it all, but there's just one you love to dig in a little bit. You just, I love that jam that you love playing live, maybe off a Swagger, that just is that one that kind of hits you like, I'm looking forward to playing this one. I can never play this song enough.
Yeah. I think, well, then in that case for me, it would be The Likes of You Again, because I think for anybody who hadn't seen the band before, like say on the Warped Tour, when we did the Warped Tour for the first time, you walk out and you start playing The Likes of You Again, and there's 7 people there, and you know, me and Bridget start off, and then and you don't really know what's going to happen here, and then when the riff kicks in, and then we all kick in, that was always great, because I always used to look at the expression on people's faces when it would kick in, because they'd all be standing there looking at each other going like, oh. And then when we kick it in, the place would just go mental, you know.
So true.
So that would be
It is a very good intro to Flogging Molly song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's us done. Next.
Hensley, is there one that you particularly love playing live?
I mean, I was with like what Dave was saying, like Black Friday Rule feels pretty fucking good. Because from start to finish, it has everything. I mean, in the old days, me and Bridget would have a smoke break and stuff. And Dennis is hurling, it was almost like watching a movie. There's glad parts, sad parts, and in between, felt like a triumphant 20-minute, it just felt really fun to play. But recently, I Old Beggar's Bush, because we just don't play it very often, and I love that groove. Those two songs are my favorite, but probably Black Friday Rule.
Okay. How about you, Mike?
It would be a toss-up between Black Friday, because I get to do the best song pretty much on that record to me, and get to go off with Dennis and do our thing for a while, which is really great. But it's a tie between that and Likes of You Again, because every single time that song, I mean, I've loved the song from when I first heard the record and seen the Warped Tour and everything, but being in the band and playing that song, every single time it starts, I always think about my dad's passing and the whole intro of the song. And then when the whole song kicks in, I can't wait to play my part and just do the song my justice, if you will. And yeah. I absolutely fucking love that song, and that's my favorite song to play live.
Yeah. Great answer. How about you, Spence?
I really like that this question has taken this turn as live, because my original song was Black Friday, because it's so fun to play live. And it does have everything that both Matt and all of you have said in it. And it's exciting the entire way through, has many different parts, but I'm going to deter to Salty Dog because it's just classic. And it's the first song. It's just classic. And it's also fun to play live. So I like that criteria as well. And live, it has all of the parts, but it can totally be chaotic at any time. It always comes back together, and it's pretty much played at every show. Right?
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to go with that one. Although there's a lot of other ones.
Dennis.
Yeah, I agree with Spencer. It's hard to pick. There's a lot, but I'm going to go with Devil's Dance Floor, because just playing it is so much fun, and the reaction that we get from it. And like you said, we were talking about, I've been playing that over 20 years now. We've been playing that song, and it seems like it never gets old. People are just as into it, and I am, and I feels like we are as well.
That's definitely a standout of the show every night for sure. Definitely. All right, Nate.
Well, Dennis, you did it. You're my bookend, vice versa. Yeah, Devil's Dance Floor. It's just, and again, I agree with everybody. You can't pick one. It's not a favorite song necessarily, but the feeling of it, playing it live, the bounciness of it as a bass player, it's just, I love the way it moves people, the way I feel the power of it. I love the whistle. I think that's the first song I remember Bridget pulling the whistle out on. I could be wrong, obviously, but I love that color, that tone. Devil's Dance Floor is just a lot of fun. It never, like Dennis said, it never gets old. And I remember the first time I heard it. I remember the first time I heard Swagger, after recording it and getting a copy and going home. I was working at some head shop, and me and a coworker went home. I put on the record, got a 4-pack of Guinness, and my reaction to that song and the whole record really was I just started laughing. I had never heard it. For me, sure, I know what our influences are, but I had never heard anything quite like it. And the bounciness of the whole thing, and it makes me feel that way. It just grin from ear to ear. And
yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I remember, throughout the years of Flogging Molly growing, that song always stood out because with Bridget on the tin whistle, some of the shows you were on, I always felt, you're grinding it out, you're playing all of these songs, and then all of a sudden Bridget's alone there with this tin whistle in front of just this crazy crowds, and they've just been going, and it's just such a moment where it's like, the tin whistle starting this, basically starting out this jam, and then what it grows into was always like what all of you are saying. Had such a magnitude and momentum behind it. It was almost like this wave coming in that you think's one size, and then it just grew and grew and grew. And by the end of that song, I've seen from front to back, you guys move a room. Like I always used to say, Flogging Molly is the kind of band that if there's a giant and a giant grabbed like a dollhouse and just shook it all around and everything got, and then you threw some beer in there and there's a little Jameson and just mixed it all up. That's what Flogging Molly does to an audience. And still does it, in their career now. And it's been awesome to see it grow from this record, Swagger, and from the relationships that all of you have. Because you can see, even on this Zoom, all of us talking to one another, there's a lot of love between all of you, and the stories and the smokes, that Matt's talking about, and the sweat and the Jameson. I mean, I've seen Dennis. I don't know how you're still standing, Dennis. I've seen Jameson. You're sitting. Yeah. Just the touring that you have done and the live show. That was one thing that no one's ever been able to say about Flogging Molly. You've never phoned it in from the moment you hit the stage. And I know the background would be, whether someone was going through something tough, whether someone wasn't feeling well, you never brought that to the stage. It was always like, I felt like every time you guys get on stage, you literally have acted like it's your last show. And that comes through. And I think that's that relationship you have with your audience, because in a day and world that we live in, people don't do that anymore. I can't do the show. I mean, Dave, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you've ever missed a show. And I've been with you on the road where your voice is gone. And then all of a sudden I'm like, all right, here we go. And then you guys click off the first song and it's like your voice just suddenly came back. Like what, and it's never been phoned in.
No, I mean, we've been pretty lucky like that. I think, we're the type of band that we don't particularly like rehearsing, in the sense that we just want to
what do we mean?
The drummer.
I mean, I just love I love the spontaneity of live shows, and we've had some hilarious moments, and but it's been an unbelievable ride. It really, really has.
Yeah.
It's been great.
I love too with, when Mike was saying he played with you before, and to have it go full circle and for him to be back there, because let's face it, drumming and Flogging Molly, that's a physical gig every single night. And once again, never phoning it in, just, going. And all of you, I think that's why the fans have connected. One more time, I want to give a shout out on this box set. The reason that we're all here, 20 years of Swagger. The box set's amazing. It has so much that's been put into it by the band. There's great photos in there that Lisa Johnson took. There's the video that comes with it that our friend John filmed, which it was a crazy time in the band, because I remember it was kind of like this videographer showed up. He had done a lot of work. He was a friend of mine, great guy. Hey, I'm going to film this. Hey, and then all of a sudden put together and held on to this footage. And it really captures a moment in time. I mean, I think Dave, you have a skinhead. You have like no hair. You look 12. It's amazing. But so I want to get
kicked out of San Jose that night.
Say again.
I think that was the night we actually got kicked out of San Jose by the police.
Can someone tell that story? Because that is like folklore. That didn't the police drive you out of San Jose?
They drove us to the entrance of the freeway and made sure we left.
Correct.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
No, it's only rock and roll.
Wow. Well, hey, I want to thank all of you. There's one last question, and I almost hate to ask it, but it is a question that I think a lot of bands get asked when they're at the level that you're at and when they're celebrating something like this. But a couple of fans wanted to know, hey, is there something that about this album, what would it be if you wanted to change it? If you guys had anything to change, would there be something that you'd want to change with this particular album?
I don't think you can think that way. You really can't. I think that's why we've been here so long. If you try to change things just for the sake of changing it, you're not doing the right thing, you know. And come hell or high water, we always knew what we just, you know, that there was nothing to change. Things happen, time goes on. You don't know what the future's going to hold, so hold on to what you have, and things will change. But you know, yeah, no, I wouldn't change anything.
I'm so glad you didn't say, I wish we hadn't signed to side one, because that'd be a really hard one to swallow right now. Okay. I got to speak for Bill Armstrong on behalf of me, and thank you, all of you, for giving us the shot. You know, it was at that time that, and like I said earlier when we started this today, that Dave, you always said it best, you know, Side One Dummy needed a chance and Flogging Molly needed someone to believe in them, and it was just such a match made in heaven. And I'm so grateful for the relationship you guys have been. You guys have been so great to Bill and I, so great to the label. You've been so great to all the bands on the label. I mean, how many times did I call you guys asking, can you take the Briggs on tour? You know, can Zox go? You guys always were so cool with all of that. Even when I was in 22 Jacks, somehow or another, you agreed to let us open up. It just, you know.
That was probably one of our worst shows, if I can remember.
Oh, come on. Okay. We killed it that night. That night. I love it. Well, I love all you guys. Thank you so much. I think we covered everything. One more time, 20 years to Swagger. Came out March 7th, 2000. We've got a killer box set that the band has pulled together, Side One Dummies pulled together. You can check that out. Go to sideonedummy.com, go to floggingmolly.com. And until we see each other all again in real life, I just want you guys to stay healthy, stay safe. And you know what? We're going to get through this time, and we will all share a Guinness in person in real life. And I got to say, I loved doing this. Can we do this once a week together? This was amazing. I love it. All of you. I love how no one's saying yes. They're like, no, Joe, we're not doing that.
Well, maybe we'll do one with Bill next week.
Yeah. I love it. Bill asked, you know. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Love you.
Love you guys.
Bye-bye.